So good afternoon everyone, I am Nikame Alcabonegro and I will be reporting to you the Chapter 3, Module 4, Lesson 4 of the Teacher and School Curriculum subject. So, Chapter 3, it is implementing the curriculum. Module 4, the teacher as a curriculum implementer and manager. So, Lesson 4.1 is the implementing the design curriculum as a change process. So, in this topic, we are desired to learn the following outcomes. So, first is to define the curriculum implementation. The second one is analyze what is change process in curriculum implementation. And lastly, explain the process of curriculum implementation. So, let's move on sa curriculum implementation definition. So, following the curriculum models of Tyler, Taba, Saylor, and Alexander or Lewis is the next step to curriculum designing, which is curriculum implementing. So, this is the phase where teacher actions takes place. So, it is one of the most crucial process in curriculum development. Although, many education planners would say a good plan is work half done. So if this is so, then the other half of the success of curriculum development rests in the hands of the implementer, who is the teacher. So we have the very first definition of curriculum implementation. So it is putting into practice the written curriculum that has been designed in syllabi, course of study, curricular guides, and subjects. So it is where the process wherein the learners acquire the planned or intended knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are aimed of enabling the same learners of to function effectively in society. So the first kanang definition is kung unsa dutong naa sa syllabi, sa course of study, sa curricular guides and subjects, so mao dito ilahang i-practice para maanad sila sa mao nga curriculum. So we have the second definition of curriculum implementation. So, gikan ni siya ni Ornstein and Hankins in 1998. So, it is the interaction between the curriculum that has been written and planned and the persons who are in charge to deliver it. So, indeed no nga, it is interaction between sa katong context, which is curriculum, ug ang katong person nga mo deliver at which is the teachers. So, from Austin Kuno and Ornstein and Hankins, so curriculum implementations implies the following. So, shift from what is current to a new enhanced curriculum. So, kung unsa tong bagong interaction between sa curriculum ug sa teachers, so, mo shift to siya in a new and enhanced curriculum. So, change in knowledge, actions, attitudes of the persons involved. So, sakto sa no kay, sometimes nag-interact sila sa curriculum mo ang teacher, so na-jud sila kabag-uhan sa ilang skills, sa ilang knowledge, napuna nilang knowledge, o nilang actions of attitudes. So, change in behavior using new strategies and resources. And last, change which requires efforts, hence goals should be achievable. So the third definition is from Lux and Lieberman, 1983. So according to them, it is the trying out of a new practice and what it looks like when actually used in a school system. So para nila kuno curriculum implementation is a new practice. So kanang nga ilahang gustong ma-picture out kung unsa kunoy ka resulta sa mao nga practice, kung magamit na siya sa school system. So they ilahang gi-expect na kani nga curriculum implementation is mag-bring of desired change and improvement. So, next definition is classroom context. So, teaching what has been written in the lesson plan. So, maaari ni siya sa first nga definition na to, ano nga, kung unsa tong naa sa curriculum, mao to ilang i-practice. So, diri po, mao to ilahang i-teach sa mga learners. So, using the plan as a guide to engage with the learners in the teaching-learning process. Last definition of, curriculum implementation is from larger scale. So, putting the curriculum into operation with the different implementing agents. So, ilahang as if nga operation ang curriculum implementation with kanang naay klase-klase nga mga implementor, klase-klase nga mga teachers. So, it usually takes place in class, school, district, divisions, or whole educational system. So, in higher education curriculum implementation happens for the course. For the course, degree program, institution, whole higher education. So, samtang nagkadako ato ang kanang sa year level, nagka-anam sad og murag new ang atuhang curriculum. So, it requires money, time, personal interaction, personal contacts, and support. Now, let's move on to curriculum implementation as a change process. So, we have here the Court-Lewin's force field theory and curriculum change. So, kinsa man ni si Court-Lewin. Nasayo. Court-Lewin. So, si Court-Lewin, 1951, is the father of social psychology, explains the process of change. So, the model can be used to explain curriculum change and implementation. So, in educational landscape, there are always two forces that oppose each other. These are the driving force and the restraining force. So, when these two forces are equal, the state is called equilibrium. Ano siya ang naasa? Tunga. Or, balance siya kung equal ang kaning duha nga forces. So, there will be a status quo, hence, there will be no change. So, the situation or condition will stay the same. So, however, when the driving force overpowers the restraining force, so kanikuno siya, kaning driving force, mo pa ibabaw sa kaning restraining force, so then the change will, of course, anha pa na ay changes. So, if the opposite happens, pud kuno, that is when the restraining force is stronger than the driving force, kanina sa mo pa ibabaw sa driving force, then change is prevented. So, this is the idea of Court-Lewin in his force field theory. So, we shall use this theory to explain curriculum change. So, naata illustration na ako gibutang nga visual aids. So, driving force na adiri na kabutang ang government intervention, society's values, technological changes, knowledge explosion, administrative support. So, naputa diri sa restraining force. So, ano siya? Fear of the unknown, negative attitudes to change, tradition values, limited resources, obsolete equipment. So, kung ingon siyang tanaw, no? So, kani diring driving force mo siya ang positive nga force. So, kaning restraining force, mo siya ang negative. So according to Lewin, change will be better if the restraining force shall be decreased rather than increasing the driving force. So, no, kung kaning negative force gani ang mas less kaysa sa positive force, so ang outcome niya is good jud siya always. Pero kung ang negative gani ang mo overpower sa positive, so mo na siya giingon nga kanang bad ang iyang result. So, now let's move on to the categories of curriculum change. So, McNeil in 2000 categorized curriculum change as follow. So, the first one is substitution. So, the current curriculum will be replaced or substituted by a new one. So, for example, kanang naakay kanang ang imuhang cartoonist no, nagisi siya nya, di lang siya madagtahi pa. So dili na lang nimo siya i-revise or kanang i-recycle ba, so palitan na kag bag-o. So maora ni siya ang but pasabot sa substitution ni McNeil. So sometimes we call this a complete overhaul. So bato di ba nag-example ko og katong jeans. So kung ato siyang i-reflect sa curriculum jud, so mo ni siya ang giingon nga example is changing an old book to an entirely one. So daan naman imong notebook niya old sa ni version na ba, so dili na siya madag revised, so mopalit na jud ka og new version. Next curriculum change is we called alteration. So sa alteration, there is no minor change to the current or existing curriculum. So walay kausaban bisag minor lang yun, no. So for example, instead of using graphing paper for mathematics teaching, so this can be altered by using a graphing calculator. So from the word alteration, or good, no? So next is restructuring. So it is a building a new structure would mean major change or modification in school system, degree program, or educational system. Using an integrated curriculum for the whole school for K to 12 requires the primary and secondary levels to work as a team. So, mo-base na jud ka sa iyahang name, no? Kay ang iyahang root word is structure. So na siya sa naguna niya. So mo na siya gingon nga building a new. So mo create na sad kag new structure. So mo na gingon nga mo build man kag new structure, so naay major changes ana. So the fourth one is perturbation. So these are changes that are disruptive, but teachers have to adjust to them within a fairly short time. So for example, if the principal changes the time schedule because there is a need to catch up with the national testing time or the dean, the teacher has to shorten schedule to accommodate unplanned extracurricular activities. So for example, namo sa una sa katong nagdangara ang quadrangular, meet man na siya ang kanang district level sa intramurals. So instead 1 hour amuhang klase sa una, so di naman makapractice ana ini kahapon, so mo tong gi-shorten time. So instead of 1 hour ang among klase kada subject, so nahimo na siyang 45 minutes per subject. So mo ni siya giingon og perturbation. Next is value orientation. So this classification will respond to shift in the emphasis that the teacher provides which are not within the mission or vision of the school or vice versa. So for example, we knew new teachers, we knew So the last one is value orientation. So this classification will respond to shift in the emphasis that the teacher provides which are not within the mission or vision of the school or vice versa. So example is when new teachers who are recruited in religious schools give emphasis on academics and forget the formation of values or faith, they need a curriculum value orientation. So likewise, all teachers in public schools undergo teacher induction program, which is a special curriculum for newly hired teachers. So regardless of the kind of change in curriculum and implementation, so the process of a change may contain three important elements. So as process, curriculum implementation should be: first, developmental; second is participatory; and last is supportive. So, and developmental, it should be developmental in the sense that it should develop multiple perspectives, increase integration, and make learning autonomous, create a climate of openness and trust, and appreciate and affirm strengths of the teacher. There should be a teacher support in trying new tasks, reflection on the new experiences and challenge. There are simple stages in the developmental change process for the teachers. So first is orientation and preparation. So the initial use is very mechanical or routinary. However, as the skills are honed and mastery of the routine is established, refinement follows. So this means that adjustments are made to better meet the needs of the learners and achieve the learning outcomes. So in this step, there will be continuous reflection, feedback, and refinement. Next is the participatory. So for curriculum implementation to succeed, so it should be participatory, especially because other stakeholders like peers, school leaders, parents, and curriculum specialists are necessary. So characteristics of teacher styles, commitment, willingness to change, skills, and readiness are critical to implementation. So this should be coupled with the organizational structure, principal style, student population characteristics, and other factors. Trust among key players should also be sought, as this is a positive starting point. So involvement and participation encourage sense of ownership and accountability. So participation builds a learning community, which is very necessary in curriculum implementation. So last is the supportive element. So supportive curriculum implementation is required in the process of change. Material support like supplies, equipment, and conducive learning environment like classrooms and laboratory should be made available. Likewise, human support is very needed. The school leader of heads should provide full school or institutional support to the implementation of the new curriculum. They too have to train to understand how to address curriculum change as part of their instructional as well as management functions. So, time is an important commodity for a successful change process. So, for any innovation to be fully implemented, period of 3 to 5 years to institutionalize curriculum is suggested. So time is needed by the teachers to plan, adapt, train, or practice, provide the necessary requirements, and get support. Time is also needed to determine when the implementation starts and when it will conclude, since curriculum implementation is about support from peers, principals, external stakeholders will add to the success of implementation. When teachers share ideas, work together, solve problems, create new materials, and celebrate success, more likely that curriculum implementation will be welcome. So that would be all about the curriculum implementation.